Thanks for tuning in to Christians Keeping It 100. We appreciate every one of you and pray your families are well. In this video, we will explain the significance of the symbols, images, and ceremonial garb that is used by the Pope and priests in most, if not all, Catholic Christian churches. Most of what you are going to see is how they demonstrate the true object of worship to pagan cultures. Pagan religions have utilized symbols to identify the gods they adored for thousands of years. In societies such as Egypt, Babylon, Rome, and others, these symbols were openly acknowledged. Although still in use today, these symbols have hidden meanings. The majority of people typically don't notice the emblem or see them favorably. But emblems of paganism should not be used by Christian church leaders in any way, according to the Holy Scriptures. Catholic priests, cardinals, and the Pope all wear the zucchetti, which stands for reverence and surrender to Cybele. Cybele is known as the Roman mother goddess. The Cybele cap is a pagan religious emblem that dates back to 2000 BC. The cap of Cybele is one of humanity's oldest and most revered religious symbols. The Egyptian sun priests wore skull caps, and various names, such as the yarmulke and kufi, are now routinely used to refer to this thin, rounded skull cap. The largest known ancient Cybele temple was located on Vatican Hill. The Roman name for Ashtoreth, the goddess of war, sensuality, and fertility, was Cybele. The Bible warned us against worshiping her. Judges 10 verse 6 says, "Then the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, and served the Baals and the Ashtoreths." Plus the Bible declares, "For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God," as seen in 1 Corinthians 11 verse 7. Dagon, the Babylonian fish god, is symbolized by the mitre hat worn by Catholic priests, cardinals, and the Pope. Known as the god of agriculture, abundance, and wealth, Dagon was revered by the ancient Babylonians. The headpiece worn by Babylonian priests symbolized the worship of Cybele and Dagon. It had an open fish mouth on the head and a robe made of the rest of the fish's body. It was worn by the chief priest of Cybele, the Magna Mater, or the Great Queen Mother Goddess throughout the Roman Empire. The open fish mouth mitre, which stands for Cybele and Dagon worship, is still worn by the Pope, bishops, and cardinals of the Catholic Church today. As seen in the photo of Pope Francis I, the kippa of Ashtoreth/Cybele is usually worn under the mitre cap of Dagon. In a warning to the Jews, in Jeremiah 1:6, God said, "I will pronounce my judgments on them concerning all their wickedness, whereby they have forsaken me, and have offered sacrifices to other gods, and worshipped the works of their own hands." So why is the Catholic cardinals, bishops, and the Pope all wearing the mitre of Dagon then? Just wondering. The Bible is constantly reminding us that light has no business with darkness. So why is it about to get real dark in here? 2 Corinthians 6 verses 14 to 15 says, "Do not be mismatched with unbelievers. For what partnership is there between righteousness and lawlessness? Or what fellowship does light have with darkness? What agreement does Christ have with Belial? Or what does a believer have in common with an unbeliever?" The sun god was worshipped, as symbolized by the obelisk in St. Peter's Square. The St. Peter's Square obelisk symbolizes the adoration of the sun deity. Ancient Egyptians used obelisks frequently in their buildings, often positioning them near a temple's entrance to designate the area as a location of sun worship. They stand in for the sun god Ra. The most important god to the Egyptians, Ra was the one who created humanity and served as the source of all heat and light. The pantheon of ancient Rome, which included statues of their gods, is surrounded by an Egyptian obelisk. Pharaoh Ramses II originally built the obelisk for the Temple of Ra at Heliopolis. It was transported to Rome in ancient times and placed close to an Isis sanctuary site. The pantheon was created to honor Pantheos, which translates to all the gods. It was dedicated to the Virgin Mary and all the martyrs when it became a Roman Catholic church. In front of St. Peter's Basilica, the most well-known Egyptian obelisk was re-erected in 1586 AD. A sun wheel around it has 3 points that coincide with the vernal equinox, summer solstice, and winter solstice. The obelisk casts a shadow toward the dome of St. Peter's Basilica during the sunrise on the vernal equinox, signifying the union of the sun god and moon goddess. But God's second commandment says, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth, you shall not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. Exodus 20 verses 4 to 5. So why does the Catholic Church venerate pagan monuments to the sun god? This gets deep. Don't know how some of us even missed this. So the ultimate representation of satanic tyranny is the six-sided star. People like the pagans of Babylon, Egypt, and Assyria used the hexagram to either openly or covertly worship Satan. The Theosophical Society, which Helena Blavatsky formed in 1875, adopted the hexagram as its logo after claiming that Lucifer is the true god in one of her writings. Witches, certain astrologers, Satanists, and Luciferians utilize it to summon the power of demons. The six-sided star is composed of 6 points, 6 triangles, and a six-sided hexagon. Christians believe it to be the Star of David, but in reality, King David never utilized the star. Instead, his son King Solomon used it to worship Ashtoreth and Moloch in an idolatrous manner through witchcraft and magic. Stephen accused the Jewish leaders. And you took up the tent of Moloch, and the star of your god Ramphah, the figures which you made in order to worship them. Acts 7 verse 43. So why does the Catholic Church use the satanic six-sided star? But this isn't the only star they use. How about Ishtar, the light-bringer, is symbolized by the 8-pointed star in paganism. Ishtar, a deity linked with the planet Venus, is symbolized by an 8-pointed starburst. Ishtar was the goddess of battle, love, and fertility in ancient Babylon. The most significant cult in ancient Babylon was of hers. In addition, Catholics refer to Mary as the Queen of Heaven, just as Babylonians did with Ishtar. The sun god's emblem is an 8-pointed star surrounded in a circle, with its points standing in for the solstices and equinoxes. The Pope is seated in the center of 8 8-sided stars in St. Peter's Basilica. Now why would the Pope want to be seated in the center of an 8-pointed starburst? Very puzzling. Next is the Maltese Cross, which is a representation of Shamash, the sun and justice god. So the same cross resembled on the Pope's robe is worn on the chest of an ancient Assyrian ruler, as seen in the illustration. The sun god in the pantheons of the Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian cultures was Shamash, a local Mesopotamian deity. Comparable to Sumerian Utu, Shamash was the god of justice. 8 centuries before Christ, this cross was associated with a sun god, long before the Knights of Malta gave it the name Maltese Cross. The Iron Cross is another name for it. Adolf Hitler, a Roman Catholic, revived the Iron Cross in 1939 and added the Nazi insignia to its center. And last, but certainly not least, we've seen a numerous amount of pine cones around the church as well. We learned that pine cones serve as visual representation of the solar god Osiris. Ancient Babylonians, Egyptians, and Greeks all had a spiritual enlightenment association with pine cones. They stand in for the unexplained connection between the material and spiritual realms that is said to exist in the pineal gland of the human brain. The pine cone staff is a representation of the solar god Osiris, who was praised as their savior that died for his people. The Vatican also has the world's largest pine cone that once decorated a fountain in ancient Rome near a vast temple of Isis. It was made in honor of Attis, Cybele's son and lover, at the old St. Peter's Basilica. The Vatican Court of the Pigna is where it currently is, after being moved there by the Catholic Church. So why have the popes used acorns as accessories on various stuff for centuries? When according to Revelation 12, the Antichrist beast is given power by Satan the dragon. Satan is referred to in the Bible as a big dragon that deceives people. As a result, the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives all the earth. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him, is what chapter 12 verse 9 says in Revelation. And according to Revelation 13, the dragon gives the Antichrist beast the authority to deceive the entire world. Says they adored the beast, asking, "Who is like the beast?" And they worshiped the dragon who gave the beast power. Who has the power to wage war on him? Revelation 13 verse 3. And yet these dragons are displayed in the Vatican and even seen in the crest of popes and Catholic officials. So it's clear that the Roman Catholic Church practices worship to other gods, which the Bible forbids. In the first commandment of God, it is said, "You shall have no other gods before me," Leviticus 20 verse 3. Many Bible predictions have been fulfilled by the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church, which both serve as the beast Antichrist of Revelation, as the clear evidence and research shows. If you're Catholic and watching this, we encourage you to reconsider greatly and definitely start asking questions about who the Vatican is really worshiping. And those of us on the outside, we hope this opens your eyes as well to see how religion is corrupt and you need to spiritually stay connected and in tune with your discernment and inner self and not this secondhand Christianity that the world is selling. Well, we really appreciate you spending time with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. From Christians Keeping It 100, we out.